came from outside of my car, whatever, just sitting there. I'm in there all day doing research and shit. I'm so tired, can't sleep. But
I can think of younger days.
I've just been sitting here thinking. And I was told to put this song on, which is one of my inspiration songs that I believe comes directly from my mom. I started a few things in the end of 2020, well, the beginning of 2021, in commemoration of my mother passing. And it's right now, November, maybe November 3rd, 4th, 5th, somewhere around there. And it's year 2022. And it's probably about, I don't know, probably about 7 o'clock p.m. 5:46 p.m. Got me a little coffee. I don't know why I'm being told to make this recording, but I guess it's for an important reason. I always listen to my spirit connection. That's all I have in this God-forsaken place. I never do this. Earlier, I noticed my brother put up a 4-hour video, and I said he pretty much cracked the code with that 4-hour video. And I said to myself that I was going to start speaking on some deep topics, but I wanted to, before I speak on them, I wanted to at least write down some of the biggest questions that we have as men or whatever, or mankind, you know, questions that we have, and then give an answer, not from books, or at least not me getting it from a book. But I really don't feel like I'm in the mood to right now. Me talking about things like that usually come off questions from people and things like that. But I don't know. I'm being told to talk about it now. Talk about a few things now. With my mom passing, one of the most important things I think to talk about, which is a question that everybody has, and that is what is life, you know? What is life when the only thing that's inevitable is death? I think it's an experience. Crazy enough, I think it's a weird experience, if we have a word to describe it. Imagine if spirits had a way to be physical, let's say full of matter. Then imagine a spirit being maybe making a deal or being convinced or maybe even bamboozled. Let's say a really good salesman sold your spirit being a big dream, a big experience, kind of like the movie you know, the movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Total Recall, kind of like that. There's this salesman, and he sells you a virtual experience, an alternative reality, something totally different from the reality that you're experiencing. A reality where all your fantasies can be fulfilled, everything you ever desired. Much better than this place. If there's something here in this place that you desired and dreamed and wished and prayed for, you don't have to anymore. I can literally send you into this room and hook up, let's say, devices, physical devices to you, and give you that physical experience that's so much better than the experience that you're experiencing now. Let's say if that experience was a physical experience. For example, let's say, which isn't what the future's gonna be. Let's just say right now we're in a multiverse, and what we are creating as physical beings is a metaverse. And let's just say that while in this multiverse, we are interdimensional beings. We are part of two. We are part spirit. We are part physical. Let's even say that we're both at the same time, part physical and spiritual at the same time. Let's even say it's a sin for our spirits to be a part of this physical experience. Just like it would be a sin if we created another alternative simulation of an experience and gave you virtual glasses and sent you off away to there, and you end up staying there forever because you like it so much better than here. Same thing with metaverse. But I call the metaverse a mockery within a mockery. The creators that created this multiverse is created a mockery within our metaverse. Same thing, same concept. We are physical beings, but they are our avatars. And I could be in this room, and that person can be all the way on the other side of town in physical reality, and other people can be on the other side of the world in physical reality. But in our alternative reality, we're actually over in, let's say, the office. And we're even at the office interacting with each other. We're giving each other high fives and having sex and stuff in back custodial rooms and stuff. I mean, it's about as real as it gets. But at the same time, our physical body is still stationed where we are on the grid, wherever part we are on the grid across the world. But we have this alternative simulation of reality that we all can go to and experience all simultaneously together. Same thing going on with our spirits and us being the physical avatars of our spiritual host or our spiritual being. And let's just say again, that spirit being was sold, bamboozled, or convinced of an experience, an alternative experience, even though that experience may be a demotion from where you currently are, even though it may be a distraction from your endeavors as a spirit being. Let's say as a spirit being, you were aiming for, I don't know, maybe the fifth dimension of reality or frequency of reality or whatever the name may be. Let's just say that. But you were sidetracked by your whole divine ascension endeavor. You were distracted, maybe to the opposite end. You know, whatever the opposite end definition is, whether it be bad, good, whatever, you were distracted. You went to the opposite end and you chose that as a spirit being. And that you chose is to experience a lower dimension or a lower frequency of reality than the one that you were on. Which is, let's say, kind of like what we're already doing here in the multiverse, where a lot of us are choosing a lower form of reality when we choose the metaverse. But that lower form of reality gives us a much better experience than our own reality. Even in this day and time, it does. If you go back to the Egyptian pyramids or the Ethiopian pyramids or any of the pyramids that speak of Sumerianism or Sumer, ancient Sumer, any of that area, Tigris, Euphrates area, any of the Emerald tablets or Dead Sea Scrolls or any of those original texts that originally speaks of what we now know as religion, then they pretty much all, pretty much say the same thing when it comes to physically speaking. You go back to the stories of Ptah, stories of Kemet, Some of the most intelligent people on the planet have been spending all their lives to study and worship and learn all about this physical, which I believe in total is a distraction from the real reality, which is the truth, and that is that we're spirit beings first, indefinite, forever. This is just an experience that lasts for about 80 to 100 years, and if we're lucky, we'll ascend and go back to where we began. But I kind of sound like the movie Sausage Party, telling everybody this shit. Everybody's looking at me like I'm retarded. It's kind of hard to imagine that with all the good that we inspire to seek while life or living, that in reality we're not living as good as what we like to believe. That we're all in reality, we're living in sin. In fact, we may even be derivatives of some of the, ancient texts that we get about the Elohim and shining ones and fallen ones. If you're talking about an avatar from an avatar standpoint, like if you for example, imagine, I don't know, me creating more than one avatar for myself in the metaverse. And all of those avatars are simply still a derivative of my physical self, but they're all avatars of me. I created each and every last one of those avatars, and I can maybe get to the point where I have 1 million avatars that have my line of, let's say, genealogy or genetics or whatever, if you're talking physically. And with all those millions of derivatives of myself, each of those is just basically everything that I've ever inspired or everything that I've ever wanted. They're still me. I may even make them dress different, may even look different, but they're still my avatars. And I may even be in somewhat partial control of those avatars. And the same thing, unfortunately, in the spirit world versus the physical world. If you can imagine our spirits being, if they were physical, being bound in a room, like Total Recall, trying to get maybe a alternative experience or a simulated experience. And the only way that our spirits would know as spirit beings that space is being interrupted, if maybe one of us bumped into the spirit, spirit being or something, and then that effect would also be felt over here in this avatarish world, which is called the multiverse. So, and that's when you hear the term, people saying, what goes on in the spirit can also be felt in physical and vice versa. It's because this is nothing but a simulation of reality. And in order to understand that, you can go to, binary codes and, in fact, you can go to the whole 0s through 9 matrix and the whole ability to program or capability of programming or programmability, if that's what you want to call it, maybe information technology or, basically information technology, the ability to create, maybe similar to the stories of manifestation of Ptah, manifestation of Kemet, turning something intangible to something tangible with just the mind or just with the energy, and that is the conversion of, I believe, spirit to, physical, and which is the same thing that we're doing now. And if you go back to the original text, is the basis of Judaism, which is Sumerianism, the basis of pretty much all religion, going back to the pyramids, even down to Christianity. Even with Christianity being one of the biggest distractions, because they're distracted on the man of flesh, which is Christ, instead of being, seeking the truth and overall creator of all, which is what existed inside of Christ. And that's what goes back into distraction. But the closest ties to the spirit, and, tying the physical to the spirit would, probably be what you might go back to and comprehend in the pyramids or the words of Kemet, Ptah, and all, down to basically manifestation and the ability to create physical matter. a place where there's no time or space. I mean, a place where there's time and space specific. And one of the other mockeries that I can think. I mean, one of the other examples that I can think of is like, for example, I guess maybe we can be called gods to a dog simply because we created different derivatives of that dog. We can also be called gods to the metaverse because we created a derivative of the multiverse. So technically speaking, yes, we're gods to that reality. And yes, technically speaking, in a sense, you can call us gods to those dogs because, we made them in maybe not our image, but into our likeness. Just same way these things tampered with us and physically made us into their likeness, the same way we created the metaverse and make the metaverse to our liking. So, but at the same time, there's a platform or there's a groundwork for everything that exists way before we tampered with the dog, way before we were tampered with, way before we created a metaverse. And even when you go back to the stories of Kemet and Ptah, for just using it as an example, you got to ask yourself, even though this is, if these were these great creations of these, let's say, characters, then, what was the platform? What was the groundwork? It's almost like an artist, creating a masterpiece, but someone handed that artist a piece of paper and someone handed that artist a crayon or marker or paintbrush, and then someone else supplied that artist with the light and the area of the space for that artist to work in to make its creation, and all the other things down to the cells that incorporates the artist who created it. And that's what I mean when I go back to the original creator that created all. And I believe that creator is nothing of anything physical. It's obviously of something of energetic, or the closest word we can use would be energy or it. And I think that is the distraction. I think physical is, a distraction within itself, just the same way we're creating a metaverse, and that's the distraction. The reason why I say all that to say this, when it comes to the topic of death and life, something that you have all kinds of questions, especially when you lose loved ones, and especially when you really analyze what you're doing while you're here. One thing we do know that we're doing while we're here is procreating. We're living a time experience. When you look at our nature, our environment, one thing I have comprehended is that everything has to die for something to stay alive here, which is kind of weird, I think. It's full of sacrifice. Everything has an expiration date. Nothing goes without an expiration date, which is a little weird. When I pay attention to nature, I even catch things that I believe that are not even supposed to be in this immediate nature, maybe from somewhere else physically, maybe another plane or planet, whichever one you believe. And that's from here. Spiders, bats, things like that, things that suck blood that always got to be upside downs and crap like that. Makes me think that maybe they're from somewhere else, planet-wise or plane-wise. Or maybe constellation or star-wise, whatever you believe. But I just came off a bad cold. But I think life and death is very complicated from the sense of time and matter, space, life broken down from that from that point, that point being the first fact, time and space and death. Life is something that goes on for about, zip to maybe 100 years if you're lucky. In your past from this plane of existence, and then hopefully you're gone back to ascend to where you originally came from, which is the eternal place, and not have to come back here and repeat it again. My interpretation of this reality is more or less punishment, to be honest with you. I think it's more or less a mockery that we were actually mocked on. Whenever it comes to a mockery, the laugh is always on the person who was trying to do the mocking. Like, for example, the 200 angels, the one end up getting, instead of the last laugh, getting the last laugh laughed on. In other words, and us being derivatives of them. all trying to seek the same thing that, from a spiritual standpoint, they were trying to seek. And that is a lower dimension or a lower frequency of reality that may just be a better experience than the frequency of reality that we were existing in eternally. I mean, if you think about what we believe, most people, even bad people, say, well, when I get to heaven, I'm not going to be able to have sex and do these things and do those things. Well, maybe that's the reason why you're here, because you was up in that, let's say, heavenly place or higher frequency of reality, and you wanted to experience what, I don't know, maybe, let's say, third dimension physical creatures experience, which is sex and time and death and love and hope and all the other things that we experience, and you created it. You created an experience. But those things I don't think are good things. I don't think the things that created us are good. I don't think the things that created this place are good. I do think that the pigmentation in our skin as black physical beings is the evidence of us being the forefront of it all, being that we've been in this physical place probably the longest, closest to the sun over the longest duration of time. But that goes back to when I would always say that if my type of people figured out what we were revered, what we were loved by, then we probably wouldn't even want to have anything to do with it. I mean, any stories that's close to it when it comes to physical, from a physical sense, anything that we may deem as, I guess, God, or I guess in this short period of time, our gods, or anything that may have tampered with us and throughout our whole created existence, even back to the things that originally created this whole physical reality, with time involved and space at all involved, which I believe, again, is a sin from all the other realities or frequencies of realities that exist. And I believe the great creator of all, if there was a word, would be probably pissed at the mockery that, let's say, his son or daughter committed. And just to give you an example of what I mean, let's say, for example, mommy created the house, and mommy has a good son and a bad son. And this is all talking from a physical standpoint. But mommy punished the bad son, and the good son's not punished. The bad son has a lot of anguish, anxiety, whatever you want to call it, against the good son, and also against the mommy too. So as a mockery, the bad son, as he's punished in his room for, let's say, a long time, he figures he go off and he creates his own mockery of, let's say, what he thinks mommy created. And he starts by creating a house, what he thinks is a house. Let's say a mini house, right on the bed of inside the room of mommy's house. He created a mini house. He's found a way to do it. He's even found a way to mock her by showing her how intelligent he is by creating individuals inside that motherfucker house, just like there is in the reality that exists outside of his mom's house. And mom keeps coming in the room every now and then. She checks him out. Damn. I love you, son, but if I hadn't known any better, I'd think you was mocking the hell out of me. I give you the codes, the zeros and ones and twos, and you try to run them out with it. Look at you, done created your own little physical people and everything. God, what you got going on, man? You got this thing called time and space? Wow. So you're a god of that home, huh? Good for you, son, but I'm not very pleased. Give you some time to think about what you're doing. Hopefully, maybe one day you'll come to me and say, I'm sorry, please. But that never happens. That son, that bad son, he goes on and on and on. He's trying to mock mommy. The son has an idea that mommy not only owns that home or created that home, but she created every room inside the home, every house on that block, every grid that have all the blocks in, every fucking continent and country where all the blocks and grids and all that exists. She created a whole physical thing called, let's just say, that planet. Let's just say she created all, the whole fucking multiverse she did. She just gave this dummy the codes to a fucking house with some individuals and some time and some space. I don't know. She gave him physical codes. Codes that ain't even supposed to be thrown into the whole code of all the matrices. Son's in there doing his thing. Just something. He's in some test software or some shit, if that's what you want to call it. But he's mocking the hell out of mommy. And every time mommy comes back to check on his son, he's getting worse and worse and worse and worse with it. Now he's gotten to the point where those little crazy individuals that he created, they done created their own damn house within the house in the metaverse, within inside of a multiverse. And mommy's scratching her head like, damn, I should be damn with you, but I'm not. I still love you. I love you like I love your other brother. So I'm not going to lose hope. I'm not going to lose inspiration. And that's when the preacher comes in and tells you physically, yeah, God said that the devil can do this and do that, but this and... So anyway, mom comes back to the room again, check on her son. This son done got these people, little things, they done created their own thing with inside of the thing. And it's just like, what the hell is this thing going on here? In other words, that's kind of like what's going on over here. We were spirit, a part of a much greater creation, which much more higher things to ascend to. And we were simply distracted, bamboozled. We went inside that virtual room and put them virtual glasses on, and we loved the experience. In fact, we're showing it every day. Shit, I'm fighting demons off my daggone self, and I know the information. Sex, drugs, money, guns, love, hope, all these things, all the good and bad things that give us inspiration to live another day and live some more time. It's all a distraction. It's a distraction from the eternal part of you, the spirit part of you, the spiral it, the infinite information, programmability, the infinite part of you, that part that's part energy.